I know that he will rise again in the resurrection on the last day. Verse 25, Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet shall he live. And everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die. So Jesus is explicit here. This is what this miracle is about. I have power over death. If you believe in me, you will not die. Though you die, you will live. But, let's look at this even deeper. It's not simply that Jesus could perform these miracles that assures us he has power over death. And it's not simply that he made these uniquely bold claims about himself, which assures us he has power over death. The signs ultimately point to Jesus' own death and resurrection. His bold claims are ultimately verified because of Jesus' death on behalf of sinners and his resurrection from the grave. That's how we really know that he has power over death, because he went to the grave for us. He was abandoned to the grave for sinners, so that we wouldn't have to be. And he rose from the grave, validating that sacrifice, confirming that it was legit, it was good, it works, trust him, and you won't die. You will live. So that's what this sign is about. Is Jesus is going to the cross. Jesus is on his way to Jerusalem. You remember it mentioned that Bethany's 2 miles from Jerusalem. Jesus is in northern Galilee. He's heading to Jerusalem, Passover weeks in a few days. And John spends almost half of his gospel on the last week of Jesus' life. Why? Because Jesus' ministry was not merely about teaching morals. Jesus' ministry was not merely about performing miracles. Jesus' ministry was about giving his life for sinners. In their place, condemned, he stood, so that we wouldn't have to be. Hebrews 2:14 and 15. Hebrews 2:14 and 15. You don't have to turn there if you don't want to. Through his death, Jesus destroyed the one who has the power of death, that is the devil, to deliver all those who through fear of death were subject to lifelong slavery. You hear that phrase? Subject to lifelong slavery through fear of death. That is what we are apart from trusting in Jesus. All the other gods we give our affection and trust to, they will leave us empty. Our money, our kids, our religious resume, whatever. Your sports team, your physical physique, it's all going to perish apart from Jesus. Look back, think again. He says, you're in slavery to those things. Those things are going to dominate you till you die. And then you're going to die. But not with Jesus. Think about what he said. Through his death, Jesus destroyed the one who has the power of death, that is the devil. So why didn't he just say, the writer of Hebrews, through his death he destroyed death? That's not what he said. He said through his death he destroyed the one who has the power of death, that is the devil. So how does Satan have the power of death? I think it is this. In Revelation, Satan is referred to as the church's accuser. The church's accuser. And so Satan's power is in this. He knows God and he knows people. He knows us. He knows God is holy and righteous and blameless and just. And he knows we are guilty, blasphemous, idolatrous sinners. And he said, ain't happening, God. They're coming to hell with me. They broke your law. They worship false gods. You can't have them. They're guilty. But this is the gospel. This is the gospel. No, Satan. I have Jesus. In my place condemned he stood. He himself bore my sins in his body on the tree that I might die to sin and live to righteousness. He who knew no sin, Jesus, became sin, that I might become the righteousness of God in him. So when God looks at me to judge me, no way. He doesn't see me, he sees Jesus. He sees Jesus' blood and righteousness. And I'm acceptable to him. I'm a son. I'm adopted. That's the gospel. That's the gospel. That's the good news. People benefit from Jesus' power over death through hearing the message of Jesus and trusting in him. People benefit from Jesus' power over death through hearing the message of Jesus and trusting in him. So the bridge from me to Jesus is faith, is belief, is trust. Okay? If you read the Gospel of John, the word belief saturates this book. We already quoted John 3:16. It's said a couple times in chapter 11. It saturates this book. Believe, 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 believe. So let's look in here at our own text. Mainly we'll look again at verse 25 and 26. Jesus said to Martha, this is amazing. He's consoling this woman who's facing death, who's thinking about death. And this is how he comforts her. I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet shall he live. And everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die. Belief. It's all over the place. And this is no mere mental assent to facts about Jesus. It's not simply praying a prayer and then say, okay, Jesus, see you when I die in heaven. That's not the point. To believe in Jesus is to transfer all of your trust to Him, to pledge allegiance to Him, to walk with Him, to worship Him, to put Him at the center of your life. That's what it means to believe in Jesus. To make Him your God and your Savior. To trust Him, to bank on Him, to hope on Him. To treasure Him, to prize Him. That's what it means to know Jesus. So the bridge from me to Jesus' power over death is faith. But what gets me there? What makes me go to Him? So think about our third point again. People benefit from Jesus' power over death through hearing the message and trusting in Him. Through hearing the message. And we see Jesus modeling this. He goes to Martha. And the way He comforts her is by telling her about Himself. He says, I am the resurrection and the life. You need me. How self-centered does that seem? Incredibly unique and bold claims that Jesus is making. But this is how He comforts her. He says, you need me. You need to hear about me. You need to know me. That's what He's doing. He's communicating this message about Himself. And so we go to people and we say, you need Jesus. You need Jesus. All this stuff will fail. You need Jesus. Jesus models that for us. And think about the language that the Apostle Paul uses calling Christians ambassadors. When we go meet our friends, we don't take them Jesus and say, here He is, you need Him, listen to Him. No, we're ambassadors. We are appointed by God to go wherever, home, across Poland, or wherever, to speak for Him, to speak on behalf of Him. That's what ambassadors do. They go and speak. So we're the plan. Look around. Here we are. You impressed? But God's power is made perfect in our weakness. If you feel fear before you talk to someone about Jesus, good.